threes. There we go. Type threes, and that's the actual, the kids did all this incredible research and inquiry-based learning, which is the type 2, using creativity, training, and critical thinking. So now what do they do with all of that information that they gathered, all of that data that they have? And that's what we call a type 3, is them producing a product from their type 1 and 2. So just a quick review, I am going to go over to the student site right now by going to my name and clicking on the drop-down menu and choosing student site. And remember, the first thing the student has to do is create and complete their profile, answering the questions, and then that way they have access to my enrichment activities, which each one of those activities is a type 1. So every time a student explores my enrichment activities, it is a type 1. And then the type 2 is finding something that they went, wow, I want to know more about that. And that's when they begin their type 2 journey, which is collecting data and information, using creativity and critical thinking. As they're doing that, they need to piece together exactly what they need, what they're looking for. I always tell students, ask yourself questions. What's the purpose of this research? And then finally, the type 3, which we're going to look at today. So for the students, type 3s, well, actually type 1, type 2, and type 3 are all nicely put together in the students area. It's the third tab, which is called My Projects. And these projects lends itself for collaboration, for critical thinking, for creativity training. I always tell my kids to look at the where they're getting their information from and ask themselves, is this based on fact? Who is the audience? Are they speaking to me, just me, and the way I look and who I am? Or are they offering their information to a broader audience? That's where the diversity comes in. Is it emotional appeal? Or are they trying to persuade me? Or are they just stating the facts? So my projects, when the student clicks on that tab, the first thing they'll see is they can watch a video. This video will tell them how to get started with projects. The wonderful thing about projects is it's set up in 5 steps where students are able to systematically walk through each step, gathering their information and recording their information as well. Students can create their own projects from scratch, something that they have a real passion for. Maybe there's a social issue that they would like to address and come up with possible solutions. It can be centered around immersion or diversity, belonging, the sense of belonging. Maybe they have an issue or would like to start some kind of non-bullying program in their school. So they could create their own projects from scratch. Or they can try one of the super starters. In super starters, we have right around 250 of them. And they are projects that have already been started for the students. They're organized and the planning piece is started. So I tell kids, if this is your first project, I encourage you to try and find a super starter, because that offers the type 2s, where you will collect your data and information. And it also shows you the right questions to ask, as well as what a well thought out and planned project looks like. So first I'm going to show you one that is already created, that was created from scratch. And this one is called West Shore Elementary Sidewalks, Let's Make It Safe. And this is a project that my grandchildren and I have been working on. They are in first grade, third grade, and fourth grade. And they walk to school every day, but there's no sidewalks from their homes to the school. And their parents have been trying very hard for the last 5 years to get sidewalks installed. So when they heard this, which was a type 1, they heard, you know what, that's a great idea. Why don't we do some research on how to get sidewalks installed at our school? So they began their type 2. They began asking questions and collecting data and information. So I'm just going to open this up so you can see what it looks like. So I said to them, what are the questions we need to ask? What are we going to focus on? And who is your audience going to be? So they said that they would like to present their findings to the city council. And if that wasn't possible, if they could record it, and then I could send it to the mayor to share. So the first thing they did was ask questions. What does research show on the safety of sidewalks? So I said, you know, safety isn't just, your opinion matters, but what do the experts say? What are the facts? So they started collecting data and information on facts, why sidewalks are safer, pedestrian crosswalks, the little bumps in on the road where the kids could feel the sidewalk is changing to pavement. So they researched all of that. And then the next thing they asked themselves is, what does the research show on health? So, and I told them again, your perspective is very important, but what do the experts say? So they began their type 2, developing research and collecting data. And all of this was leading to a type 3, which the type 3 would be their presentation, their actual videotaping of their findings. And then they collected websites and activities that they could do their research, their type 2s, and collect that information. Now, the reason we created our own was because obviously Renzulli didn't have anything on that. And we even had to go outside of Renzulli Learning to find websites on the city of Tampa, because their final question is how are they going to finance it? It's a great idea. We know it's safe. We know it's healthy, but where is the money going to come from? So they even have solutions to offer for that. So that is what a well thought out plan, type 1, type 2, and then finally type 3. Now we haven't gotten to type 3 yet, the actual filming and videotaping of their presentation. That ought to be hysterical. And when we meet again, hopefully we have that completed, and I'll be able to share a type 3 with you that is already completed. So that's what a type 3 looks like when the student or the teacher creates their own. So I'm going to stop and ask if there's any questions or anything you need me to answer centered around creating your own project. All right, well, just interrupt me if you need me to answer a question. So let's look at the super starters. So I'm going to click super starters. And I'm going to go down. These are all the interests. Isn't this amazing? So I'm really interested in social action. I would like to do something to improve my community. So I'm going to choose social action. And I am going to select grades 3 to 5. I'm a 5th grader. And here are my options. Follow your dreams, getting along with others. This one would work really nicely with your diversity and immersion. Let's see what else we have. Now hear this about good storytelling. So let's look at getting along with others. Let's open that one up. So I'm going to open up the planning piece and notice that each area in this project has a video for the students to watch. So every section has the functionality for students to be able to find out exactly how that piece of the project works. So let's scroll down a little bit and notice that the opportunities for type 2s are already in the super starters. Make things better or worse. If someone laughed at me when I struck out at baseball or softball, I would. Again, the questions. What project will you do? You can write your own story about an enemy. This is all related to the book Enemy Pie. I don't know if you've read that book, but that's a great book for inclusion and diversity. Also, you can write new ending to Enemy Pie, or where Picasso met Musastis, or you could draw a picture. One of the things, I have a group of students that I work with, and one of the students, their intended product was to create a club. They wanted to start a club in their school for 4th and 5th graders, and it would be on making all kids feel included. Let's say someone at the lunchroom was sitting by themselves. Maybe the other students that are in this club would make sure that they had someone to talk to, kids that are being picked on at school. So that was their type 3. They decided that they wanted to create a group, a club of students that focused on everyone getting along, everyone being able to appreciate each other's differences. They even have on the morning show, they'll every once in a while, the principal will let them do a snippet of someone's culture. You know, there's a lot of Spanish speaking in Gavin and Marley and Dylan's school. So they do a snippet on different cultures, African American, Mexican American. So it's really, it's amazing because that spills over. You know, Connie and I talked about this the last sessions, that every student's type 3 is another student's type 1. So students are constantly introducing their classmates and their peers to things that maybe they didn't think about. So that when you have a club like that, or however the kids decide to carry that out, then you have other kids going, wow, that's a great idea. What can I do better to make all kids feel included and special about themselves? So type 1 is the planning piece. This really, the planning piece is really type 2s. And then the the find section is where the students store all of their research and data. For example, Dylan is focusing on the safety of the sidewalk. She's the little first grader. So what she does is she takes pictures. When she sees something unsafe, or a student walking in the middle of the road because there are no sidewalks, or they're walking on these, and we have brick roads, by the way. So these kids not only don't have sidewalks, the main roads are brick. So she takes pictures and she uploads her pictures into the find section. And then Gavin and Marley, who are working with Dylan, can see the pictures. In addition, when they create notes, they attach their notes. So everything that they use for research is stored in the find section. This is where their inventory lives. So as you can see, it's very easy for the student to stay organized because everything is right there for them. This is where they create. This is the assessment piece. There is a rubric that is attached, and it is a type 3 rubric. So if you are grading your or assessing your students' accomplishments using type 1, type 2, and type 3, this rubric is perfect for you. And then the sharing piece. How are you going to share your product? You've done this amazing research. You've collected this incredible data, and you have created a wonderful type 3. Wonderful. Who are you going to share it with? Some kids will say, well, I'm going to publish it, or I'm going to enter it in a contest, or I'm going to present it to the school board, or I'm going to present it to I'm going to present it to the city council. Some kids, they'll do, I've had kids in the past that wanted to research Holocaust survivors, and their audience was actually Holocaust survivors. They had a little club meeting, a little meeting, and they presented their type 3 to the people that they had actually interviewed for their data and information. So that's the beauty of Renzulli Learning. Kids are not peg-holed into doing what we think is appropriate or best meets their needs for their type 3, but for them to discover, you know, how to do that. And I always tell kids that you may start out thinking that you want to do something with this information that you've gathered, but it completely changes as you're doing your research. So it's important for students to know that they have that flexibility. And, you know, like I told my grandkids, when you finish your data and information collecting, you may find in your research that there's a better person to present your type 3 to instead of city council. Maybe it's, you know, maybe it's the school board, because, you know, kids are in an unsafe environment. So those are things that the kids learn. That's where the critical thinking and the creativity training comes in. You know, I tell kids, you've got to think, you've got to reason, and you've got to ask yourself constantly questions through this process. So any questions on the My Projects? Another area I want to show you where students can find access to type 3s is if they go to their differentiated search engine. Remember, I told you that that search engine matches the results of the student's profile. So it's very powerful. So I'm going to open up the search engine, and I am going to go to advanced search over here. Advanced search. And I want to look for projects and independent study. I'd like to look for the independent study is the type 2, right? And the projects are the type 3. And I would like it on maybe 3rd grade level. And I'm going to type in diversity. And I'm going to search. So it's going to bring up ideas for me as the student. So, oh, look at this. Art, activism, and physical disabilities. Discovering heritage on the Texas frontier. California mission, civil rights activity book. So all of these are type 3s. And the key word that I used was diversity. Let's look at, this one looks very interesting. Oh dear. Oh, it's temporarily down. So that's the type of sites we usually don't remove. We wait to see, what, what the host is going to do before we just take it off. Here's one, dealing with dilemmas, teaching tolerance. So this one, upstanders, bystanders, and whistleblowers, where we stand. This one, in your own words, a class story book. That'd be a powerful type 3, wouldn't it, on social injustice for the students to write a children's book? That's another great audience, you know, writing a book or writing a song or writing a poem and putting it on display in the school library, you know. That's a great way for students to be able to share their work. So that's another way that students can find type 3s, is through the search engine. Or I could change this to immersion. And do a search on type 3s projects. And oh, this is more on science. Let me go back and put in, whoops. Let me go here. And let me put social action, history and social studies. Okay. Nope. Let's see if I do that. Maybe I didn't spell it right. All right. I'm going to put inclusion. So here we go. So here are kids' health, how clicks make kids feel left out, teaching tolerance, dream days. Oh, how cool is this? Here's a book for kids to read. So as you can see, there's so many resources in Renzulli Learning to support not only your themes of diversity, but a lot of ideas for type 2s and type 3s. So I'm going to stop for a second, ask if there's any questions. Okay. So now I'm going to go over to the teacher site. And as you know, in the Teach tab, teachers have access to projects just like the kids do. Excuse me. So if you wanted to assign a project to your kids that they could all work on together, maybe all developing different type 3s, but on the same project. So let's take a look. And I'm going to look at the super starter projects. Wonder if there's anything on So here, create a public policy. So let's say, for example, you wanted to have your students do research to create a new public policy focusing on diversity and social justice. You could do that by sending it to all of the kids. Creating a school newspaper. How cool would that be? The school newspaper would be the type 3. You could have your students research and have them write articles on social justice, maybe make some games, some learning games, maybe a horoscope. So I did this with a class 1 year. We worked on this newspaper all year, and I loved it because Renzulli Learning keeps everything. So even kids that went on, they would ask me to send them a copy of the newspaper that we had done. So deep thinkers. So there's all just so many possibilities. So that is absolutely a great way for students when you're focusing on type 3s. What a great way is to send everyone the same project centered around what you're teaching or your theme of diversity or social justice, and then having students develop and create different type 3s. So let's say, for example, one student creates a new law, another student does a PowerPoint, maybe a group of kids want to start a newsletter about how, sometimes kids don't know how to go about including everybody. What a great thing for teachers and students to work on, maybe a newsletter, the tip of the week, to make everyone feel included. So just some ways that teachers can use these projects as well. And you can go into your search engine, the teacher, and type in, let's say, diversity, put your grade level in, and maybe find some activities that are centered around creating a product. Oops. So let's see. Oh, we have some really cool stuff here. And even how about a type 3 where maybe each student chooses a civil rights leader from their country, and then writes an article of focusing on that civil rights leader, or PowerPoint or a video. And even though all the students are working on diversity and civil rights, and to me, civil rights are human rights, but their type 3s will all be different. They will be in their expression styles, and that's what a type 3 is. On their profile, you actually know their type 3 styles, the way they prefer. For example, I'm just going to open up my profile real quick. And the way that I like to produce type 3s is through audio visual. So I like to do poster boards. I like to put pictures to music. Oral, I like to give oral presentations. So my type 3 would be maybe a video of me speaking. And technology, I love TikTok. I love iMovies. I might create a movie. So this part of the profile right here tells you how the student wants to or would prefer to do their type 3s. So that's powerful information to already have on each one of your students. And something else that you can do is run a report. So I'm back on the teacher site, and I'm going to go to reports. And I'm going to want to run a report by my kids. So I choose the first one. And expression styles. So I can look at totals by expression styles, or students that have the same expression styles. Maybe you want to pair some kids up together. So I'm going to do the kids that have the same expression style, and I'm going to submit. Oops. Let's see how many. So these, look at this, look at all of my kids that art is in their expression style. Kelly, Dave, Amy, and teacher Fontana. So what a great way for me to create an artistic group. I can put these kids together, and we're working on civil rights leaders, and maybe this group would like to create a collage, or maybe they would like to paint a picture. So that's really amazing as well. So I'm just going to go back to the reporting, and I want to see how many of my kids are dramatic. Maybe I can get my kids to do some monologues as a type 3. And I see there's one student. So maybe that student would like to deliver an oral monologue on their civil rights leader. So that's another cool thing. I also like the fact that I can do, let's see if I can find it, totals by expression styles. Now I don't know who they are, but I love this report as well to see what were the majority of my students' preference to type 3s lie. And look at this. So oral, look how many of oral. Audio visual, 9 kids. Service, 6 kids. So these are this is what type 3, commercial, dramatic, musical, written, hands-on. So these reports come in handy for you to find out your students and what they actually prefer. All right, any questions about type 3s?
Tony, I have a comment. It might be a question, but it seems like in the past, we have talked a little bit about students that don't always complete type 3s. So you might not, I might be jumping the gun here, and maybe you're going to talk about that a little bit later. But as we, look at these, of course, as teachers, we're expecting our students to finish things. But could you address how that works with with kids?
Yes. Joe calls it the cycle. Sometimes kids are introduced to a topic and they're like, wow, I love that. Let me do some type 2. Let me do some research and development. But it never really turns into a product. And that's okay. That's okay. They may along the way, for example, and I'll give you an example. My kids discovered the Statue of Liberty, and they began and they had in their mind what they wanted to do for a product and on the Statue of Liberty. But halfway through it, they discovered they were more interested in immigration through Ellis Island than they were the Statue of Liberty. So their whole focus changed. So they never completed a project or a product on the Statue of Liberty. So in some kids, for example, excuse me, Joe and Sally's school-wide enrichment model, one of the graphs show that 1, 2 doesn't always lead to 3. 1, 2 may go back to 1, may go to 2, back to 1. So it's the journey. It's the process. It's them critically thinking. And I tell kids that, like my grandkids, I told them that they really use their creativity training and their critical thinking skills when they discovered that the real question to them wasn't what the Statue of Liberty was all about, but why. They, and they found out why by exploring Ellis Island, that it was the beacon. It was a symbol of hope. It was a symbol of freedom. And that's why they turned their focus on immigration, because that to them was the bigger question. So it's quite all right. I tell teachers, think about this. Your kids, you've introduced them to a fabulous topic that they loved. The majority of them, let's say the ology on American Museum of Natural History, you introduce them to marine biology and they're like, wow. So they start immediately with type 2s. They start researching. They start gathering information. They start reading more. They're reading more complex text, right? They're summarizing, they're synthesizing, they're paraphrasing, but they never get to the product. So my thought is, that's okay. Look at all of those skills and all of that knowledge you acquired, and all the times you had to use creativity training and critical thinking through that journey. Maybe you went off on another tangent. You're like, you know what? This was great, but I really would rather study the coral reefs off the coast of Florida instead of marine biology in general. So, like Connie said, not all type 1s and type 2s leads to a type 3, and that's okay. That's the way it's meant to be.
Okay, so not all roads lead to Rome, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, I'm thinking that we all change our minds about things, and I think that we need to remember that sometimes that's part of the learning process. Is as we learn, maybe we want to go a different direction on things, or maybe our interest exhausts itself with what it's already achieved. So now, if it's a grading situation in a classroom, I suppose the teacher has to think about how to adapt that. But that flexibility, that lack, that allowance for flexibility really does seem consistent with a student-centered model of teaching and learning.
Absolutely. Any other comments or questions? Anything you've experienced in your school as far as so far, anything you'd like to share on Renzulli Learning, how you've used it, maybe how some of your kids are exploring it? Are they looking at projects, or any of your kids started any of the Super Starter projects? I see there's an awful lot in the chat. It's just I can't read it. I need a translator. I'm just going to have to go to Italy this summer and learn Italian.
I wrote just notes.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I wrote just notes for
okay.
teachers.
Oh,
but I have a comment now in English.
All right. Well, I'm really anxious. I see one person wrote that they're exploring, and this is your type 1. And after I've introduced you to Renzulli Learning, then you will begin your journey and you will begin exploring it, and that will be your type 2. And then the type 3 will be your students. That will be your type 3 is actually delivering and presenting to them. So I think that one of the things that I thought about today is my grandson. He's in gifted classes. He's in the 4th grade, And his parents, my son and his wife, have been going to schools, middle schools. And in Florida, giftedness is a special needs. So they are required by law to meet the needs and service these kids, and each gifted child has an IEP. And all of Renzulli's gifted, all of Hillsboro's gifted kids has Renzulli Learning. But I went in today and I noticed none of the middle schools had any credits. So my question to Hillsboro is, how do you service your middle school gifted kids? So my way of thinking is that even when the teacher is so busy and so just bogged down, that Renzulli Learning provides students opportunity to develop their talents and their gifts, and they drive the vehicle. They are the ones that explore their enrichment activities. It doesn't all fall on the teacher. And I think that's the beauty of Renzulli Learning, that Joe and Sally created this incredible program that constantly introduces the kids to new topics, gets them eager to explore, and then even finds the most creative ways to create their products. So that's how I always looked at Renzulli Learning, and I wish the same for you. I always ask myself, what am I looking for to provide to my students? My number one thing was differentiation. I wanted the students to receive content that was differentiated for them, and Renzulli fit that bill. I wanted students that could critically think and be able to say, yes, this is a great website full of facts, not biased. So, and I used Renzulli Learning to meet the needs of my students and myself. And I always tell teachers, just because Renzulli has 50 bells and whistles doesn't mean you need to use the 50 bells and whistles. You need to use the bells and whistles that meets the needs of you and your students. So, excuse me, keep that in mind as you're navigating through Renzulli Learning. Keep that question: how will I use Renzulli Learning to provide opportunities for my students to develop their gifts and talents, to be challenged, and it to be differentiated for them? And those are the tools that you'll use.
Tony, I have another kind of comment question thing. I think you mentioned Hillsboro as
Yes.
your grandchildren's school district.
Yes.
You know, that stands out to me because Hillsboro, I use that as an example of a mega district.
Yes.
In my courses.
They have more gifted students than Rhode Island has students.
Hillsboro, for those, and Tony, you can correct me, Lori Kirsch, right?
Yeah, she was, yes.
Was the
I missed her dearly.
Yeah, she is she's been a president of our National Association of Gifted Children, but she was also the coordinator of this very large school district. I'll have to look up and see how many, but it's a mega.
Well, we're the 5th largest district in the nation.
Yeah, pretty big. And so
we might be 3rd now, behind Los Angeles, and I think we moved up to 3 behind New York and Los Angeles.
And it's near Tampa, right?
Right, it is Tampa. Yep.
Tampa. But it does it go? I think it's called a countryside suburban. Is it, or is that the name of the district?
It encompasses all of, you know, it goes outside of the city limits of Tampa for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it's huge. And they've had Renzulli Learning from the very beginning. And when Lori left, it kind of got sidelined. The kids still had it, but now I'm doing trainings in the evenings on Monday nights for because the kids get out of school early on Monday. And it's been like, wow, why haven't we been using this? So, I just, like I said, we're having a lot of issues right now in the state of Florida. You want to talk about inclusion and diversity, we're pretty much excluding students. It's really sad. I mean, I get teared up when I think about it. So many of our students are being made to feel less than important in school by some of these laws that are being passed. So, and we also have a law that's going into effect that they cannot teach any history, US history, that makes a white child feel uncomfortable or makes them feel less than what they are. So now we have our lawyers. I'm like, I need to know what I can present. Can I show websites on the Civil War, on slavery, on the Holocaust?
Joyce did a lecture, her lecture on diversity this past week. Critical race theory. She talked about that on critical race theory. But Tony, I think the point
I would have loved to seen that.
Well, it's on our YouTube channel. I'll send you the link.
Awesome.
And I will say too that going back to Renzulli and how it adapted for one of the, for very large districts like LA, Chicago, New York, Tampa, but also it's very relevant for very small school districts like in Montana or rural areas that might only have, very few students or from medium-sized schools. So in other words, what I like about it is that's adaptable not only for the student, but also for the school district size. So your district is a great example of a very large one.
Right.
So I'm glad that you mentioned that.
What's awesome too, Connie, you have a great point, is think about this too. The smaller schools, the smaller school districts, probably the teachers are wowed by Renzulli Learning because they're able to offer those kids opportunities to visit the Louvre or go on a virtual field trip to the Statue of Liberty or Mount Everest, places where the kids maybe didn't even know about. And I always tell teachers, sure, you can find that on the internet, but on Renzulli Learning, it's already it's vetted for you. It takes you right to where the kids don't have to go to a big website and keep clicking until they find what they're looking for. So, and I want to also say that I love working with all of you for this, for many reasons. But one of the reasons is because your focus is on diversity and social justice and inclusion. And I just think that's fabulous because every child you touch, every teacher you touches another person and then another person. And I just think it's incredible that is what your themes are. So any other questions that you guys might have or comments?
Well, I think
go ahead, Connie.
Sorry, Tony. I think we can remind them that you are available out, in real time, even though this will be posted. All of last week's videos are posted on the YouTube site. The Great Plains.
I'm going to put my email and my cell phone number.
So if you think of something later that you as you work through this, Tony's still out there and she's still working with this material and she is very expert in it. So please do reach out to her or to Martina or myself or Joyce. And okay, well, Tony, I want to, this is our last live lecture with you. We may have a couple more in the future.
That's awesome. Just
Yeah.
let me know. We'll get
But
together.
we have so enjoyed our time and we know we're in good hands and so we're gonna wish you a really wonderful day. And when is spring break coming up?
Hillsborough spring break is next week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. ours is
So,
too. So,
and I tried very hard not to book. I there's some, you know, you just can't get out of, but I tried. I want to have a little, some normalcy with my grandkids. I'm looking forward to it.
well, thanks for sharing about their work with the sidewalks. And we'll look forward to hearing when I know how important that is for safety.
Yes.
If they're walking along and there's no sidewalk, it's not safe.
So remember, your kids can do anything, even first graders, you know, they can get involved. And that's the beauty of Renzulli learning. I learned so much from Joe that I used in my classroom and now I use with my grandkids. His pedagogy and his philosophy is timeless. So whenever, if you can take, I know many of you took this course, right, Connie?
You mean yes, absolutely.
Yes.
I took, before we started the first institute, I completed it. And I required all of my students, I did a virtual practicum during lockdown. And all of them had to, they all had to do that.
Well, thank you all, ladies. And
thank you, Tony.
Hopefully our paths will cross again.
Okay. Well, Martina, do you want to stay on and we'll dismiss the rest of you and Tony will be in touch. Okay. So thank you everyone.
All.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay, I took everybody out.
If you want to stop the recording.
Yeah, and I'll take off I was a little bit late on the subtitles. Tony had just started talking. I remembered I need to take off the subtitles too. Okay, so tonight I am actually doing an interview with Riva. Riva Friedman from KU. She led the gifted program up there and I talked to her for about an hour last night. I nominated her for a Lifetime Achievement Award in gifted last fall at our state conference. She's retiring this year. And we had a live conference that day, but she was in New York at the time. So I just, you know, in her absence, I awarded it to her. And tonight, KGTC's asked us to do an interview. So I'm interviewing her tonight, and she's from Connecticut originally, and Joe Renzulli was her dissertation chair.
Wow.
And her dissertation won an award at NAGC. You know how I always talk about the myths, the myths of giftedness from the 1982 and the 2007 GCQ. Okay, well, Riva wrote one of those. She wrote the cosmetic use of, I'll have to look, cosmetic use of like identifiers in gifted. In other words, very superficial. So she is fascinating. She's been her whole academic career at KU. And KU, that's where Marge is from, and Melissa. And KU is not right now, but it has been known as the #1 special ed university in the country. So she started out in special ed, but like Don Treffinger, if you have heard of Don Treffinger, he started the PhD program in Ed Psych at KU. And then he went back to Buffalo State College, where he worked with creative problem solving and set up the foundation there. But Riva has won a number of awards. She really is, their program stopped a few years back. See, this is what happens. You'll get somebody that just doesn't like gifted. And for whatever reason, and say, oh, I thought of you, because this, she was an assistant dean at KU, and she said, I don't believe in gifted. And they dropped the program basically. So like right now there's only 2 gifted programs in Kansas, and with the economy the way it is, really 1 program would be enough, for the economy. I don't know. The Board of Regents are doing a study on all of the programs. So, but let's talk about you right now, okay? And we'll maybe talk about me later. Let me see here. Okay. I'm sorry, I'm looking at my email real quick. Okay, so wow, I'm so excited about maybe working with Giovanni, and but it will be a game changer for you. I know you're up to it, but you like to think of yourself as a teacher educator, and he's going to be all, I think, mostly about psychology.
Yeah, I know.
So you're gonna have, we all face that. We all face that in gifted. And, I think it's time that they face it too, that we're out here too, like with the global principles for gifted. And, so you're not going there to have a gifted job,
Mm-hmm.
You're going, but what you will learn from him will be amazing. I would pay to have this opportunity. I mean, I think it's, I can't tell you how excited I am about it. So I do think we should work on your Vita. I'm really swamped this week because I have to do the thing tonight. I've had a lot of work with the FRC committee. I will tell you in confidence that I don't think things are going real well for Melissa. She went up for full professor this year, and things can, just like you, things can get very political, and
Mm-hmm.
the department chair and the dean did not recommend her.
Oh.
Yeah, because of her teaching scores. And see, that's why I get really panicky when I fall. I'm really behind in my grading, because if I get behind in my grading, I get low scores, everyone will notice, and that's not good at all. So that's why I can't always do everything I would like with my writing. I mean, not only do I teach 9 hours of courses every semester, I also direct the program. So one of the things I'm working on right now is an elevator pitch that somebody else is going to do. They don't even want us to do it. and in one of my last meetings with my department chair, she said, your program is a low enrollment program. Well, by standards in the past, it was not a low enrollment program, but by these new standards that they have, with our economic situation the way it is, it's considered, I guess, low enrollment. So I don't know, but going back to you, I just think it's important that you stay open-minded, and you're going to have to be a new Martina, Martina has to change. And, you can't, you won't have the luxury of doing what you want. You'll have to do what he wants. And that's okay. That
I
is
have
okay.
to study methodology because I don't know quantitative methodology, and I have to learn, I think.
Well,
I have to study because maybe he wants like a factorial design, but I will do.
You'll have to ask questions, and you'll have to, make sure that you always understand what he wants you to do, and, try to engage. He'll probably ask you questions. He'll probably want to know your opinion. I really like Giovanni, I don't know. He's very charming, don't you think?
Very
Isn't he very charming? Charming?
charming.
Charming.
I don't know the word.
Oh yeah, you have to know the word. Let me chat it. Maybe you'll know the word if I chat it.
Yeah. I check. Oh, like, yes.
I find it in Italian. Okay. It's
Like,
okay, I got it in Italian now. I think he's a very charming person. Maybe that's not.
yeah,
Is this the right word?
yeah. It's like likable, appealing. Is right?
Yeah, but of the opposite sex.
Okay, yeah.
I guess we can say women are charming and men are charming. Anybody can be charming, but he seems to have good communication skills. Very smart man. Just very smooth. Smooth.
And I think he is very serious man.
Oh, I think so too. I have never seen anybody criticize Todd except him. He contradicted Todd. He corrected Todd.
Really?
Todd made some comment like, well, blah, blah, something. And Giovanni said, well, actually, no, it was something. Todd's a Yale graduate and very smart. And Giovanni, I mean, yeah, he's very smart too. And I don't think he was being mean or anything. I just don't think he agreed. And he said so. So, yeah. Okay, my daughter's here now. So anyway, you will have to think more scientifically. You'll have to. Hi, Abby. Here's Martina. You want to say hi?
Hello,
Martina,
Abby.
she's right here. She's in Finland.
Hi.
I can't.
Hi.
Well,
Hi,
oh,
you're in the
I got the
background.
blurred screen on. Yeah.
I'm gonna
okay.
go let them out.
Okay. She's just coming and going. But the biggest thing is he's going to come not only from psychology, but also science, and very technical science, as far as I can tell. So I don't even know exactly what his stuff is. But to have this opportunity, and Fred too. Fred is another amazing opportunity. But I remind you, this is what you wanted.
Yeah.
And you have an opportunity, but it's going to stretch you. You know, you're going to have to, I don't know. I don't know what the answer is. Just learn, be a sponge, you know, be a sponge and maybe uh I don't know. Let's see. Creativity and intelligence, that shouldn't be too bad. The thing, you know, if you read some of the stuff that I've been working on, like in Marlin, you see that the views of intelligence and creativity.
I will be back after work. The dogs are outside.
Oh, they're going to stay here.
I don't have time to go back to
Okay.
my place and get back to work.
Sorry, just a second. Daddy will drop them at your house because I have a 4:30 webinar that I am doing an interview.
Okay, then I will take them.
No,
enough time.
Daddy can take them
No,
at 3:30.
It's fine. It's fine. It's fine.
Abby, he can do it.
It's fine.
Okay. Just let him do it.
Okay, because I was gonna get back a little bit. I will have just enough time. It's fine.
Okay. So you know, it will take discipline and different way of thinking, and mostly it won't be about teacher education unless you want to make applications on your own. So, but I am fingers crossed for you because, yeah, really, this is an amazing opportunity for you. And it is Bologna. That is your, like you just said, you know, I'm telling you, networking, see, this would, I really think this would never have happened if you had not presented at NIC, number one. Hi, Griffey. Oh, look at you. I have my little Griffin here, my little dog. Okay.
Okay, I will see you later.
Okay, Abby, I'm sorry, but I have to literally do an interview. Yeah, the whole thing with Riva. You too. And then you went to the gala, and I say this over and over and over. Almost every good thing that's happened to me happened because I did the extra. I went to the galas. I paid the money. I went to the gala. You sat by Giovanni's wife at the gala. He remembers you, you know.
Yeah.
And I could tell he liked you because when we were having that problem with our presentation, he said, well, Martina's here, you know, like, well, she can do it, you know. And I said, well, if she wants to, you know, because I know you like to practice everything, you know.
I told all my story to his wife, all my story.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
You're kidding. And what did she say?
Nothing. She was like,
Sympathetic?
yeah.
Sympathetic.
Yeah. She was kind. She was kind with me.
She's a nice person, you think?
Yeah. Really, really nice. Yes.
Okay. Well, I think he's very nice, but
Mm-hmm.
you know, I've never worked with him. I know because I got up at 3 o'clock in the morning to go to those sessions, and he said I was a pillar of the conference. I was like a column, like a pillar, you know. But okay, so we need to talk again because I'm asking Audrey to get ready to do a second institute, but it's not going to be live. It'll be virtual, okay, this spring. It's like I don't have any students. I do need to go because I've got to get ready for the thing with Riva tonight, and I need to grade papers and do other things. I really am worried right now. I'm very, very worried that my college will just let the gifted program die, and they won't even try to support it, you know, because my department chair says, well, Connie, you have too many IPs. You have too many, you can't have classes, you can't have practicum in the summer. And it's like, oh, you know, that's one of the things that is good for the program. You know, those are good things for the program. And she doesn't really understand, and she's very inexperienced, and she doesn't really care, you know. So I don't know how it's going to work out. And I think they're actually kind of mad at me because I wrote a letter for Melissa in her portfolio. It was a very good letter on her research. Now, the reason they don't want to pass her is because of her teaching, and not so much the research. But I think they thought that because I'm on the committee, that it wasn't good that I wrote the letter. But when I was asked to write the letter, I didn't know that we'd be reviewing it. So the dean actually had to retract something she said. So it's been, these are interesting times. They're hard times. And if you can work with Giovanni, you'll learn to be a better researcher. Okay, you'll learn a lot. You're a hard worker. You want to do a good job. He probably will do quantitative research.
Yeah.
So I don't know, you know, there's maybe YouTube videos on research like that. You know, read journal articles, you know. You're a member of AERA, so that's that's a really good resource. Okay, so all righty. Well, tomorrow, we didn't remind everybody, but tomorrow is, I forgot to say it. Tomorrow is Audrey, and she's going to do microaggression at 12 o'clock. So
Okay.
maybe you can remind your students, your teachers, because we should have said that at the end. Okay, so let's talk again. Okay.
Okay.
Let me know next week. If you want, I can try to look at your Vita, but if you know how to do it in Italian, I don't know how people do their Vitas in Italian, you know. But I would also stay in touch with Fred, and I think it's good if I contact him next week,
Okay.
you know, and say, hey, how's it going? You know, and that you're still interested in working with him, and it wouldn't even hurt. It would probably impress him. We'll see how, but you are working with Giovanni, that's for sure, right? You're going to, so he's testing you out.
Yeah.
That's kind of scary. You can do it. Martina, you can do it.
Yeah. I will do my best.
Well, not everybody has to be like him, you know. We only need one Giovanni, you know, but we need a Martina too. So just remember that what you have to offer is valuable. And, you know, so, okay, well, I am super excited.
Thank you.
Okay, I just think this will open the doors you need.
Yeah.
And then if you work with Fred, it will open more doors.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll let you go. Thanks for the extra time today.
Thank you, Connie.
And you know, think about my poor little program here. I feel like I'm really up against it. Yeah, and poor Melissa, don't say anything about what I told you, but that just goes to show. And I went through something similar, but I had, when I was tenured, I had my department chair support me, and when I was promoted, I had my dean support me. She doesn't have either. She doesn't have either the department chair or the dean. And so now we'll see what the provost does. And, you know, that's not a good place to be. So you know, it's okay. So anyway, all righty. I'll talk to you. I'll see you tomorrow. Okay.
Okay. Thank you, Connie.
Bye.
Bye.